Hey everybody, TNT here. All right, so we are back working on the Yz490, getting that motor running in the right direction. So if you watched the past video, you know that my motor was running backwards. This turned out to be a fault of my own. I've never worked on one of these bikes before. A lot of parts are interchangeable with other bikes in other years, and unfortunately I was misled to believing that a particular rotor for the Magneto was good for lots of different years, basically from 82 all the way up until the end of the 490. And it turns out that the 82 was actually different. So the size and everything about it, its appearance and all of that was exactly the same as the 83 and newer, but something inside of it is different. So I got the right one after shredding some gears and some other parts inside the motor on the clutch side. I've replaced all those parts, and I'm going to show you everything that I got, and we're going to put it all back together properly today and get this motor running in the right direction in preparation for the track test, which will be next weekend, the August long weekend. I don't have time to do it this weekend, but we'll definitely get it done then. All right, so here is the proper rotor for the bike. Where's the number on it? Right there, sorry. F3T206. That is the proper rotor for this bike. Over here, we have the one that I had on it. This is also an 82 engine in here, where everything about the motor is exactly the same as the 83, except for the stator and the rotor. And this is the rotor that I had in the bike when it was running backwards, so F3T201. But everything about this is absolutely identical in appearance, and that's how I got slightly misled. So we are going to install the correct one, as well as we're going to get all of this other hardware in here that I got used but new. We have an entire clutch assembly. I'm going to take this apart and have a look at the clutch friction plates in relation to my original ones, which are like brand new. We'll have a look at the slight grooving on the inside part of the clutch, as well as this one. There is the Kickstart idle gear, and that's it. Those were the missing parts that needed to be installed. Now, last time around I did pull the cylinder because I thought that I had bigger issues. Turns out that I did not. I've got that cylinder covered up right now. Once we get this whole clutch side put back together, we will get the cylinder put back on and get the carburetor installed. Then I'll probably do a little bit of cleanup to the bike. It's been sitting in here for a while, and then we'll go ahead and fire it up. All right, we're going to go ahead and start by installing the thrust washer, then the Kickstart idler gear, and then another thrust washer, and then a snap ring on this shaft right over here. Just going to grab some gloves because I'm going to pre-lube all of this. Okay, start with our first thrust washer. And our Kickstart idler. And our next thrust washer. And now our snap ring. Make sure that it clips in. And it's not going to come off. looks good. Now let's have a look at the old clutch versus the new one. Friction plate looks pretty good. It's got lots of life left in it. So let's just get them all out of there and have a look at them all. Back one looks good. Lots of life left in that one. All right. Let's take our first plate here. Let's see what we got. We have make sure that we're not getting it in the groove there. Let's get it right back here. Looks like one putting some pressure on it. Well, 117. Let's just try another spot on here. See if we get the same. We should get the exact same reading. Oh, a little bit, maybe a little bit thicker over there, 118. Let's try this one. Yeah, 117.5. Okay. Now let's take one more plate. So we just did the one there. And let's see what we get here. $117. Okay, so it looks like 117 is probably what these are at. And we'll go back to 0. And let's see what we get on this plate right here. Oh, well, 118.5. Gotta find a better spot here. Trying to find a spot where I'm not getting the groove on the back side. 119. Okay, let's try another one. Let's see what we got. Hmm, 118. $119. Well, it looks like maybe the clutch that I just got is thicker than my old one. And check out the grooving on this hub. I mean, it's visual, you can actually see it, but when you run your nail along it, there's nothing there. You cannot feel it at all. Let's try with a screwdriver, see if I can feel it. I feel nothing, absolutely nothing. It's completely flat. So now let's try this one. This is our new one. You know, it's nothing. Absolutely nothing. No grooves at all. It's more of a visual thing than anything. So we will just install this entire, this is out of a 1985, so it's exactly the same as the 83s. This is the original clutch, so I will sell it with the bike. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, I may actually rebuild the bottom end of that 82 bike that I have and sell it with this 83 bike. So you got a completely new bottom end that you can simply swap over parts and get right back into action should you ever have a bottom end engine issue later on down the road, which is highly unlikely. Okay, so this one here, we're just going to wrap it up, and we won't be installing that at all. We'll go 100% with our 1985 assembly here. Okay, we'll start off by just giving a little bit of pre-lube on here. Don't need a lot. As soon as this engine fires up, you're going to have oil everywhere. It's got all these little holes inside that allow it to hold oil so that it basically floats on this bushing and does not cause any wear. There we go. Get it to slot into that one. Perfect. Okay. Now, this is the original washer that came with the 85. It's got a bit of a nick over here. You can see that it's actually broken right there. I'm not going to use that one. This is the one that I've been using. This is actually a brand new one. I have another brand new one. It may not look that good because it's been bent up and bent down a couple of times, but there's nothing wrong with this. There's no breaks or anything like that in it. We're just going to put this one back on. Put the lock washer on. Gotta get this in the right spot where the little tangs fit inside the holes. There we go. Get her nut on there. And that is where I'm going with it right there. Want to make sure that that's not ever going to come loose in there. Alright, so we've had our clutch friction discs sitting in oil for a bit. Let's make sure that's not going to fall off on me here. Friction disc, then a plate, then a friction disc, then a plate, and just keep on going until you have no more of your friction discs left. last friction disc. Well, we should be right at the top. Now we can go ahead and install our pressure plate. Make sure that your clutch actuator is backed out so that you can get these tight in, and then we'll adjust that later. Make sure that your nut is almost cinched up against it, because you don't want this piece pushing in, because it can turn, and if it turns inside it can get locked in behind the clutch pressure plate in the wrong position. Get all of our springs in there first. These springs don't matter which way you flip them, they're exactly the same. Now probably the most important part of your clutch spring bolts. Because these bolts are not tightened very tight, on this one here we're going to be going 7 pounds. I can't actually use a torque wrench because I don't have a torque wrench that goes that low, so I'll be doing it by hand. Basically we're going to cinch them up tight against where they bottom out, and very gently I'm going to take my ratchet and go about, I don't know, a 30-second more, maybe less. I've kind of developed a feel for how tight to go. If you tighten these up too much, they strip instantly, and they're the only two repairs are a helicoil or drill it out to an 8mm. And neither of those are great solutions unless you absolutely have to, but if you take care in not tightening these up too tight, this Loctite will do the job of keeping those bolts in there for you and never having to worry about them coming out. I can feel that Loctite starting to harden already. Okay, so this part right here, I'm just going to hold my piston here, hold it down. I'm just going to give it a little tiny torque with my hand. No torque wrench, no ratchet. And that's it. That's all you need for those bolts. Okay, so now we can go back to the clutch adjustment. We're going to need a screwdriver and a 10mm wrench for this. You're gently going to turn this in until you feel it bottom out. You got to be really gentle here. You're just trying to take up that slack in the rod and your clutch cable right there. I felt it lock up right there. Now you need to tighten that nut up. It has a lock washer in behind, so you don't have to worry about putting any sort of Loctite or anything on there. And that's it. Just check my clutch, make sure that it's set right. I got no slop in there. Now, any fine adjustment that I might need to make if I didn't get that set perfectly, I can do up at the clutch cable, but that feels pretty good. Everything nice and tight there. Just get a little bit of lube and throw it on that Kickstarter shaft. Just make it easier for all of this to slide together. Make sure that gasket is all sitting properly. Everything looks good. And perfect. Gasket's good up in the back corner. Now, although I'm going to use an impact to just buzz these in, I'm not going to allow them to tighten up. These bolts here, again, require a very light torque, so I'm just going to buzz them up so they're close and come back to them after with a wrench. Alright guys, well, let's install the cylinder. This can go easy sometimes, or it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes. So what I like to do is put a little bit of two-stroke oil on the piston and inside the cylinder. So I'm just going to use my Maxima Super M here. Get a bit on my finger and just get it all the way around that piston. I'll do the same thing inside the cylinder. And we are there. Okay, just got the clutch cable in the way there. Just move that out of the way and she will drop right down. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now we'll go ahead and put a little bit of blue Loctite inside these nuts before we get them started on there. Alright, well, I'm going to have to take this one off because I just realized that I missed the exhaust bracket. The exhaust spring bracket. All right, this is the fun part in my personal opinion. Trying to get all these washers to go back on where my fingers don't fit. It's these two right inside here that I find to be a bit of a challenge. Oh, I got it. Now we got this one up here, same thing. Fat fingers don't help. This one's way down there. All right, I got it now. Can be a bit of a challenge with the fuel tank on, but it can be done. You can just get this bolt started in behind the fuel petcock. Okay, we can buzz one on. And now this one becomes quite a bit more challenging. Luckily, I've got one of these ratchet wrenches, which makes things go. Again, some blue Loctite on this nut. You definitely don't want this one coming off. I've seen so many people wind up welding a washer over top of this to keep their Kickstarter on. And makes for a bad day when you're going to do a restoration and you got to try and find another Kickstarter. So this one here, again, you don't have to go crazy on how tight you tighten this. It's only holding this on the shaft. It's not designed to be torqued on. Make sure you get some sort of Loctite on here and you're good. You don't want to strip the threads off of this because it's pretty much shot after that, unless of course you were to weld it on. All right, so let's just check how good the compression is here. I think I've got it in gear. Let me just get it out of gear. Right, we are out of gear. Let's check this out. Oh yeah. Oh, good grief. Yes, we got no issues with compression there. Wow. Okay. Next, we can install the rotor. Let's get this installed. The issue that, or the part that caused all the issues. I got my keyway right up here so that I can line this up when I slide it on. and I can feel that it went on in the right spot. We've got our lock washer, and again, where did I put my blue Loctite? It's over here. Put some blue Loctite on here. Some guys would probably even put red. Red's probably getting a little bit carried away, because once you get that red on there, things don't like to come off at all. Hopefully I've got the timing set up perfectly on this. It's so hard to tell. Like there's no way without using a gauge to gauge your piston at the top and how far you're supposed to advance or retard the timing. And I can always fire a timing light in here after and make sure that I'm on. Get the rear brake back connected. It's not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think we'll go with that right there. Don't want to go too high. Alright, so this side of the bike is good. We can go ahead and install the pipe. Alright guys, we got the whole bike put back together. Unfortunately my camera had, battery had died there, and I wasn't able to show you putting the pipe back on and the side panel, but that was minor compared to getting the whole engine back together. So we're going to fire it up here, and crossing my fingers, although I'm pretty much positive this motor is going to run the right direction this way with the right parts in it. Sounds good. Alright, let's put it in gear and make sure it's running the right way. Oh, that's a good sign. Feels spinning the right way. Let's go on the clutch. There it goes. Man, these air-cooled motors are sure noisy though. Listen to the top end of that thing. Sounds like dynamite, like it's gonna explode. But that's 490s for you. They're loud. Idle and clean. That, eh? Getting rid of some of that excess oil from putting that cylinder on. Might be running a little bit rich too. Sure sounds good. shut her down. Well, that is a thing of beauty. Yz490 is running. Sounds good. Maybe a little bit rich. It's hard to tell with the oil from assembly. You kind of need to get it out to the track and clean it out, right? These big bores, they build up oil pretty fast in the cylinder, especially when you're running 32 to 1. If you're running a lot leaner than that, then she won't build up the oil in the cylinder that much. But if you're running 32 to 1, you're going to get build up without being on the gas. All right, so the bike sounds great. I'm going to put it through probably another heat cycle out at the track. Everything seems good here. I'll probably just ride it around in my driveway at some point and make sure that everything's good. I'll go over the bike one more time, checking all the bolts and everything else. And then the day before I go out to the track, I'll fire it up one more time in the morning and make sure that everything's running so that I'm not wasting my money when I get out there to the track. But that's it. The Yz490 is complete. Once the track test is finished, I may take it out for another high-speed, top-speed test. I'm not expecting it to be any faster than it was the original top-speed test, but I know a lot of people like to see it. So stock top-speed test is in the plans. I just have to find a location where it's not only safe for me, but safe for anyone else, and that I'm not going to get in any trouble doing it. I have a particular spot in mind, but it's still kind of like get it done and get out of there before you get in any trouble overdoing it. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this video. I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching my videos. Please share with your friends, leave some comments, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you to all my returning subscribers, and I can't wait to get this out to the track. So catch you all next video.